Hello and welcome to the third game in the series of 5, England against the West Indies.
Did I miss anything?
You've missed the first 2 games.
Oh damn. It's taken me 5 days to walk here from Luton Services, Raf.
Shouldn't have got out of the car, should you?
No, probably wouldn't. I won't be doing that in future. Well, we're here now.
We're both here. We've been reunited inside the Derby bubble after however many days it's been apart. A few days, I don't know. Okay, so third game. England have obviously won the first 2. You've been watching on various different televisions, Sid. What have you made of it from the TV? Because that's obviously quite a different experience to watching it live at the ground.
It is. It's a bit strange watching on television and hearing the commentators directly and things like that. You get to see some different angles on things. You obviously get some much better pictures in some ways, but it's kind of interesting that one thing, for instance, that you miss is like when someone strikes a ball, you're expecting to be able to like look instantly and go, is there a fielder out there? And you can't quite do that. So it's a bit of a different experience. I have to say that I love being at the ground. I love watching live. I think that was my choice. So I'm very relieved to be here today. I thought that England have been pretty good. They've been good in the field. There's been a lot of positives there. Obviously, they have won both games by substantial margins. There has been a little bit of rust as well. They've lost 8 wickets both times. Don't forget. That's not really ideal. I don't think. I think they'll be looking to try not to lose quite so many wickets. On the other hand, if they hadn't lost 8 wickets, wouldn't have got Sarah Glenn coming in and putting in a great a bit more than a cameo in the second game. So positives for England, perhaps not so many positives for the West Indies. What do you think, Raf?
Well, yeah, it's not been completely one-sided, because I guess when Dottin and Taylor were knocking it around the other day, you did feel like West Indies were in with a shout, but it's not been great from their perspective. What do you think they've been doing wrong, Sid?
Well, I mean, it sounds glib, but they haven't been scoring enough runs. But I can't help feeling that that this is like 99% confidence from this West Indies team. That we know this is a West Indies team that can play. This is not a fundamentally different team to the team that rocked up at St Lucia in 2018 and beat England. I mean, it was a close game, but they gave England a scare in terms of the tournament, and they really took the game to England, and it was a fantastic game of cricket. And so we know that these are players that can play cricket. They're not rubbish players. They're good players. But just something is not clicking with them. And you could see it the other day in the second game after Dottin got out. The run rate instantly collapsed. It wasn't after Dottin and Taylor got out. As soon as Dottin got out, Taylor almost went back into her shell. At that point, she'd lost confidence that they could win the game. It's like at the moment they clearly believe that without Dottin they can't win the game. But you can, guys, and I really hope that they're going to come out and deliver a more positive performance today.
And what was really interesting actually was when they did have England 90 odd for 6 the other night, they suddenly looked reinvigorated. They suddenly looked, oh my goodness, we're in with a shot here, and they were almost a bit surprised. And they had the 12th and 13th players running on with the drinks when they took that 6th wicket, and they were whooping, and everyone was, the dugout was alive suddenly, and it really kind of transformed almost everyone's feeling about the game for a minute there, but they are very quick to then go back down in the dumps when things aren't going their way.
Yeah, it's such a pity, isn't it? And today is obviously such a big deal, isn't it, Raf? Because this is the game on the BBC, and there's a lot of hype around this, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. First cricket, that's the first women's game that's been shown in England on free-to-air TV since the 1993 World Cup final.
That was before you were born, wasn't it, Raf?
Not quite. I'm not quite that young. Obviously in 1993 it wasn't even planned. It was just suddenly there was a bit of hype around the tournament and England were in the finals. So the BBC suddenly decided that instead of some random sport, they were going to have a bit of women's cricket on grandstand, I think it was, for anyone who remembers that.
Those were the days.
Whereas this is obviously, there is huge hype around it. Everyone's excited. The teams will be raring to go. In terms of the England side, it looks like we're probably not going to see any changes. Perhaps that's not particularly surprising. Heather Knight and Lisa Kiteley have kind of gone with this strategy, haven't they, of this is our 11. And Heather Knight said in the press conference yesterday, it's pretty hard to change a winning team. That's, to be honest, I find that argument a bit problematic because this isn't the strongest opposition, and would it really, if you had Sophia Dunkley and Freya Davies playing in this team, playing in the 11, would it really have made a difference? Would it suddenly have meant that England were less likely to win? I'm not convinced, because if you've got a not particularly strong opposition, then that doesn't strike me as a particularly strong argument. But there you go. What do you think that the Windies might do a bit differently, Sid? Change the batting order? That's been something that's talked about, hasn't it? Because they've got their 3 strongest batters at the top of the order.
Yeah, I mean, you do want to make sure that you give your best batters the chance to face the maximum number of balls. I mean, that was perhaps one of England's issues in the World Cup, right? That everyone said about that by dropping Tammy Beaumont down the order. Of course, that meant you had some great power hitting to come, and Tammy Beaumont could potentially, close an innings for you and give you, the same sort of performance actually that Sarah Glenn did the other day. But on the other hand, you do want to make sure your best batters face lots of balls. If I was the West Indies, I'm not really convinced I would change anything. What they need to try and do is to try and get on top of England early. And Charlotte Edwards made this point in the commentary that what they really need to be looking to do is to get ahead in the first half of the game, because that will put them in a position where the other players believe they can win. And they were so close to being. They were one big over away from England. They were within touching distance on the worm, like 10 overs in the second T20. So if their star batters can give them that platform, which puts them slightly ahead of England, then that gives the other players the confidence to come in and finish it off.
So probably not going to change up the order then. I guess I probably agree with you in the sense of, I think that Stephanie Taylor is a player who needs a lot of balls. She needs to be really coming in at 1, 2 or 3, because she takes a bit of time to get going, and then when she does get going, my goodness, there'll be fireworks. So potentially we might see some of those fireworks today. I really hope so. I hope it's a great game. And do follow the hashtag Women's Cricket Month on Twitter, because that's definitely worth a look. We're really excited, and it's lovely to have you back in the bubble, Sid. Let's look forward to a great game of cricket.